What is the ultimate power? Is it the strength to lift a mountain? The ability to stretch across a city, flying around while on fire? Or is it the ability to be the one thing holding the universe together while everyone else is looking the other way? For decades, she was dismissed as the girl of the team, the hostage, the damsel, the shrinking violet. But if you look closer at the history of the Marvel Universe, you realize that while Reed Richards might be the brain, and the Thing might be the fist, she is the spine. Without her, the heroes fail. Without her, the villains win. Today, we're looking at the evolution of the unseen pillar, the Invisible Woman. Welcome back to Marvel Echoes Resonance. I'm your host, Will, and I'm incredibly hyped about today's episode. If you caught our episode on Mr. Fantastic, you know we spent a lot of time analyzing his intellect, his hubris, and how he often gets lost in the science. But we also touched on the fact that Reed Richards is often the one who needs saving, usually from himself. Well, today we're giving the spotlight to the person who does the saving. We're talking about Susan Storm Richards, the Invisible Woman. Now, to understand Sue, we have to go back to the very beginning, and I mean very beginning of the Marvel Age. Imagine, it's November 1961. The space race is heating up, nuclear paranoia is everywhere, and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby drop Fantastic Four #1. When you look at that original lineup, it's a perfect snapshot of American pop culture archetypes of the time. You have the scientist father figure Reed, the rebellious hot rod teenager Johnny, and the grumbling working class powerhouse in Ben. And then you have Sue. In those early days, Sue's power was, well, let's be honest, it was passive. She turned invisible. In the context of the early 60s, it's almost a painful metaphor, right? It's something out of Mad Men. The societal pressure for the perfect housewife was to be supportive, to be present, but not intrusive, to be seen and not heard, or in Sue's case, not even seen. Stan Lee even admitted later that he didn't want her to punch people like Wonder Woman, so he looked to the horror tropes for inspiration. For the first few years, she was the Invisible Girl. And I want you to really focus on the word girl. She was the hostage. The Mole Man captured her, Dr. Doom captured her, Namor captured her. She was the emotional glue, sure, but she wasn't the fist. But here's where the echo starts to ripple. Everything changed in Fantastic Four #22 back in 1964. This is the moment that the damsel narrative starts to crack. It's revealed that Sue can project invisible force fields. Suddenly, she isn't just hiding, she is pushing back. She can block punches from the Thing. She can contain explosions. Visually, Jack Kirby started drawing these jagged, crackling energy barriers around her. It added texture to her character. If invisibility is the absence of presence, a force field is the imposition of will. It was the first time she could physically say no to the world around her. But the real transformation, the moment that defines a modern Sue Storm, happened in the 1980s during the John Byrne run. If you haven't read this era, you need to hunt down Fantastic Four issues 280 through 284. It is a masterclass in trauma and rebirth. Here's the setup. Sue is emotionally vulnerable. She's dealing with the grief of a miscarriage, which was a profoundly heavy and realistic story for superhero comics at the time. Enter the Psycho Man. He's a villain from the microverse who manipulates emotions. He takes all of Sue's repressed anger, years of being talked over by Reed, years of being underestimated by the villains, years of holding it all in, and he amplifies it. He turns her into Malice, the mistress of hate. This wasn't just a costume change. As Malice, Sue destroyed the Fantastic Four. She used her powers in ways that were terrifying. She didn't just block attacks, she created spikes. She suffocated people. She proved without a shadow of a doubt that she was the most powerful member of the team. When she finally broke free of that control, she didn't just go back to normal, she changed. In Fantastic Four #284, she has this incredible monologue where she explicitly declares that the Invisible Girl is dead. She demands to be called the Invisible Woman. It was reclaiming of her agency. She had looked into the abyss of her own rage and she didn't blink. From that moment on, the power scale just kept climbing. Fast forward to 1995, Fantastic Four #400. The team is fighting Celestials. Now, for the uninitiated, Celestials are giant space gods in armor that can withstand planetary destruction. The Thing can't scratch them. The Human Torch, like a matchstick against a tank. But Sue? She realizes her force fields come from hyperspace. She bypasses the Celestial's armor, creates a small force field inside its brain case, and expands it. She shatters the Celestial's head. This is what we call the glass cannon theory. She is a human woman with human durability, but her output is capable of killing gods. It solidified a hierarchy that stands to this day. Ben is the strongest, Reed is the smartest, but Sue is the most dangerous. So let's fast forward a bit and catch up on how the evolution echoed into the modern era. Because if the 80s were about Sue finding her voice, the 2000s and 2010s were about her using it to lead. The biggest test of the Richards family dynamic came during the Civil War event in 2006. You remember the Registration Act, right? Iron Man on one side, Captain America on the other. Well, Reed Richards, being the logical utilitarian he is, sided with Iron Man, as we discussed in his episode. He built a prison in the negative zone. He helped clone Thor. He treated the war like a math problem to be solved. But Sue saw the human cost. After witnessing the death of her friend, Bill Foster, she did something unthinkable for the first time. She left Reed. She packed up the kids and walked out of the Baxter building. It was a massive moment. It deconstructed that stand by your man trope that had defined her since the 60s. She joined Captain America's Secret Avengers, literally using her force fields to shield the resistance from her husband's forces. It proved that her moral compass was independent of Reed's logic. Eventually, they reconciled, but the dynamic had shifted forever. Reed knew from that point on that he couldn't just calculate his way through marriage. This leads us directly into what we consider the golden age of the Fantastic Four, the Jonathan Hickman run starting in 2009. Hickman introduced this concept of the Council of Reeds. Basically, he showed us a room full of Reed Richards from the other universes who had solved all their world's problems. They were efficient, they were brilliant, and they were utterly sociopathic. They had abandoned their families to fix everything. And here's the kicker. The only reason our Reed Richards didn't turn into one of those monsters? Sue Storm. Hickman framed Sue as the universal constant. She is the anchor. She is the only thing keeping the smartest man alive tethered to his humanity. During this run, Sue takes over leadership of the Future Foundation. There is this chilling scene where she confronts Dr. Doom, the man who bows to no one. She tells him, very calmly, that if he betrays her family, she will kill him. And Doom, he believes her. He respects the threat because he knows that unlike Reed, who might hesitate to calculate the variables, Sue acts on love, and love is violent. Bringing us right up to the current day and the Ryan North run that started in 2022, we see Sue operating at a power level that is frankly terrifying. In issue number 6 of that run alone, a biological threat requires sunlight to reproduce. To save the Earth, Sue flies into the upper atmosphere and creates a force field the size of a continent. She blocks out the sun. She holds it there, opaque, for days. The sheer stamina required to do that is just off the charts. It's no longer just about protecting her kids, she's protecting the biosphere. So where is she right now? She is the undisputed matriarch of the Marvel Universe. She's bouncing between being a mother to Franklin and Valeria, acting as a diplomat to the superhuman community, and occasionally doing solo spy work for S.H.I.E.L.D., using her invisibility to infiltrate places no one else can go. The irony of the name Invisible Woman is that she is now the most visible, impactful force of nature on the team. It's been an incredible journey for Sue Storm, hasn't it? From a character created to be a damsel in distress to a woman who can now block out the sun. But it makes you wonder about the nature of her power. We often say she fights for love, but remember that malice is still a part of her. That capacity for absolute destruction is always there, just beneath the surface. So I'll leave you with this question. Do you think Sue Storm's true strength comes from her compassion, or is it actually her repressed capacity for violence that makes her the most effective protector? Is she the shield, or is she the sword waiting to be drawn? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for listening to this episode of Marvel Echoes. It's been a blast to dig into the history of the First Family. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Invisible Woman, make sure you subscribe and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. Leaving a like and a review really helps the podcast grow and helps other fans find us. Also, drop a comment on who you'd like to see us cover next. Maybe we need to look at the rest of the Fantastic Four, or maybe jump to another corner of the universe entirely. And for more content, including a full article on Sue's Storm and some incredible infographics breaking down her power levels, be sure to check out the link to the website below. Until next time, true believers, make mine Marvel.